What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the ShowMeFootball.com podcast. And today we're going to be previewing Chiefs versus Browns. So, of course, if you guys didn't already figure it out, the Chiefs will be facing the Cleveland Browns this Sunday in the AFC Divisional round after the Cleveland Browns defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 48-37 in the wild card game. And it was a pretty surprising result, honestly. I had picked the Browns to win the game, but I did not think they would come out, as dominant as they did in that game. And before we get into just the matchup with the Chiefs and the Browns, I just kind of wanted to talk about, the Browns in this game against the Steelers. But, for a team that didn't have a coach and a team that was missing, some starters like Denzel Ward, for example, and, they didn't look that good in the last game of the season. I thought maybe the Steelers had, the odds were in their favor, but no, the Browns, they were up 28-0 at one point, kind of let the Steelers back in at one point, but in the end, it was never too close or anything. And the Browns just looked great. And part of it was Big Ben throwing, I think he had 3 interceptions in that game. I think they had like 4 or 5 turnovers total, something like that. Heck, I could be wrong on those numbers, but yeah, handful of turnovers in that game. So really surprising result. And Connor, I'm joined by him as always today again. So Connor, I'm just going to ask you, what were your kind of thoughts watching that game? Big takeaways.
I think the Browns and the Steelers are both frauds, and the Steelers would have easily won the game had they not have been just complete morons. Like Marquise Pouncey just threw the ball over Big Ben's head on the first play of the game, and the Browns recovered it in the end zone. And then shortly after that, I think Big Ben threw a pick six or either a pick that ended up in a quick touchdown. And just stupid mistakes like that put the Steelers down early, and then they rallied and almost came back, but they just the defense couldn't hold long enough for the offense to really make the comeback. But they win this game if they don't make a bunch of stupid mistakes in the first quarter and have to play from behind. And as we know, that's something the Chiefs tend to do in the playoffs. So that's mildly concerning. But yeah, I've been saying for weeks upon weeks that everyone in the AFC North, except for maybe like the Ravens, are complete frauds. I think that the AFC North had one of the easiest schedules in the league, and I just don't see what's so great about either the Browns or Steelers. Like, obviously, there's talent here, but they just don't play great. And in theory, I could see the Browns beating the Chiefs, but that's not because I think the Browns are a good team. I think they match up well against us, but I just don't see the Browns being a really good team that could make a Super Bowl run or anything.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And just walking it back a little bit to the complete domination of the Steelers defense, I think that was one of the most surprising things to me was the fact that the Steelers were second in the league in pass defense, only allowing 198.4 pass yards per game against their opponents, which is pretty insane. And despite that, Baker Mayfield went 21 of 34 for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then the Browns ground game did the rest. I think I would rather have the Browns than the Ravens because if the Browns had lost last night, this would be us versus the Ravens. I think I'd rather have the Browns just because I think they have more weak spots than the Ravens, and the Ravens have been playing better as of recently. I think some people will look at their record and be like, I'm not really scared of them. And, the Chiefs shouldn't be scared of the Ravens because they've shown time and time again that they're able to beat them when it matters. You're kind of splitting hairs if you're choosing reasons why either team is a better opponent, in my opinion. I just don't think there's that much discrepancy, but I'd rather face the Browns just because I think they have a tad bit worse quarterback. But both are good running teams. That's something that will give the Chiefs a little bit of trouble. So, you know what? Let's just get into the matchup. All right. So I actually wrote an article this week. Or I say this week, I just wrote it yesterday, like literally right after the game, but I wrote a few keys to the games, a few key matchups to watch And my first like big matchup to watch is Myles Garrett versus this offensive line. So our offensive line, as everyone knows, it's the weakest unit on the team, and Myles Garrett is Cleveland's best defensive player. He's coming off a year in which he had 48 total tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, 4 forced fumbles, something the Chiefs will have to watch for, and 12 sacks. So I think, number one priority is keeping Myles Garrett in check. If they can keep him below like 3 sacks, that'll at least give the Chiefs offense a chance to do some damage. Because, like, I remember last year in the Super Bowl, Nick Bosa was kind of like our Myles Garrett that we had to face in the playoffs. And he kind of dominated Fisher, but we were still able to win. So I feel like if, you can just let Myles Garrett have a Nick Bosa type Super Bowl game or less, if that makes sense, we should still have a good chance. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think this game is going to. If the Browns are going to win this game, they need Myles Garrett to just dominate Fisher. And I really don't think that's too much to ask, given the fact that Fisher is terrible and Garrett is arguably the best pass rusher in the game. But if Fisher can at least just buy Patrick some amount of time, then I think the offense is going to be just fine. You know, because if Patrick is comfortable he doesn't even have to be comfortable for very long, right? He just has to have enough time to roll to his right and find either Kelsey, Tyreek, or Sammy Watkins, who always performs in the playoffs for some weird reason. But I would expect Denzel Ward to match up with Sammy Watkins, so Sammy might not have a fantastic game, but that means that Travis and Tyreek are probably going to be wide open. So yeah, Fisher, just do your job and we're going to win this game. But again, I don't know how likely it is that he actually does his job.
Yeah, well, people always, they always go to, oh, look at last year when Fisher came back, we were undefeated with him. They say Fisher, he's not worth the number one pick that they spent on him. But when you look at the rest of the draft class, just because the rest of the draft class may have been underwhelming doesn't necessarily mean Fisher was a good pick. Fisher, I feel like, is still, he's not a great player. He's just not. I mean, he was, I think, third in blown pass blocks this year. I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet saying that. That's not good. I mean, he has to be better than that. And the Chiefs offensive line, there's not a ton of bright spots on it. Fisher's going to have to be one if the Chiefs want to go deep into the postseason once again. So Fisher's got to play better. I mean, that's the only thing I got to say. Fisher, if he can, like I said, if he can keep Myles Garrett below 3 sacks, which I feel like that's a pretty low standard, but if you can keep him below 3 sacks, I feel like the Chiefs have a chance to do some damage. Just don't let him get a ton of pressure. Just let Mahomes do his thing. And I think if the Chiefs are going to win this game, like and not even just Myles Garrett, just you got to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, because the Browns do have a pretty good pass rush. I know Olivier Vernon ruptured his Achilles in the last game of the season. That was a blow for them, but they still got, Jordan Elliott that we know, Sheldon Richardson, who's really solid. They got some guys, right? Chiefs have got to just hold their own against them.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the pass rush, because I don't see this Browns secondary doing anything. Ward may be able to take one of our receivers out, but like I said, we have 3 extremely dangerous weapons. So, yeah, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually another matchup that I think will tell a lot. So the Kansas City Chiefs are actually 13th in pass defense this year, allowing 236 pass yards per game, which is, pretty decent. I think the Chiefs will need to, or should be able to, keep the Browns in check. The Browns, it's not really their passing offense that will win them this game. It's their ground game, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Kansas City on defense, I think, as long as they and sorry to switch over to defense for now, but it was just in front of me, but I wanted to talk about it. I think if the Chiefs can just keep the Browns or Baker Mayfield in the check, I don't think that's asking too much. They should do fine. But I think the matchup to watch for the Chiefs defense is our defensive line versus their offensive line. Like I said, just got to win the line of scrimmage if the Chiefs want a really good chance to win this game. Frank Clark got to step up. Chris Jones got to step up. Defensive line got to step up. We've been saying it for so long now, and the Browns are one of the better offensive lines in the league. They got Jack Conklin. So he got hurt in the last game, and he's listed as day to day now with a hamstring, I think it was. So, I'd be willing to bet he plays. So Frank Clark better be ready. Better actually play a good game this time. Because multiple times this year the other team has been missing like their starting left tackle, and I just still hear absolutely nothing from Frank Clark. Frank Clark's got to step up, man. And a lot of people have been putting their eggs in the postseason Frank Clark basket, saying, "Just wait, he's going to do it. He's going to go off." Well, here we are. He's got to go off, or else a lot of people are going to question that acquisition.
Well, I know the Browns have a couple good linemen like Batonio, the guard. J.C. Tretter's a really good center, and Jack Conklin's like the best right tackle in the NFL. But off the top of my head, I can't name their left tackle. I think he kind of sucks. So no matter what happens, if playoff Frank, the myth. So if pigs can fly, yeah, Frank Clark should be able to have a good game, but I'm not gonna bet on it.
Yeah, definitely. And then so if they can get pressure on Mayfield, I think that would be a huge plus for this game. But I said we were going to get into it, and so I'm going to get into it now. We got to talk about the Browns rushing attack. So in this past game against the Steelers, who again are one of the more vaunted defenses in the league, Nick Chubb ran for 76 yards on 18 carries, and Kareem Hunt had 48 on 8 carries and also added 2 touchdowns. And then Chubb added another 69 yards receiving. You got to watch the Browns in the screen game with their running backs and those kind of dump offs and stuff like that. This isn't a good matchup for the Chiefs at all. The Chiefs rank 20th in the league in run defense, over 120 rush yards allowed per game. And the Cleveland Browns rank 3rd in rushing offense, 147 rushing yards per game this season from their running back duo, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. That's something the Chiefs have to control if they want to win this game. If they allow that duo to go for like over 200 yards and multiple touchdowns, the Chiefs aren't winning this game. I think I can say that confidently.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we're going to face is uh, watching the Steelers game. It felt like the Browns got about like 90% of their yards from screen passes to Kareem and Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how the Chiefs are really going to be able to stop that. Uh, Best idea I have is you just have Sorensen follow the running backs wherever they go and hope that he can make a tackle in the backfield. I don't really know what this defense is going to do to combat that, but the Browns are going to run the football all day. I don't see Baker Mayfield doing anything this game because their best weapon is Jarvis Landry, and Rashad Fenton and L'Jarius Sneed are both really good slot corners. So I don't see Landry doing anything this game, and I don't think Baker's really going to use the rest of his weapons. So it's 100% going to be, can we stop the run? And this was kind of the narrative before the AFC Championship game last year, talking about Derrick Henry, but I think that Derrick Henry just kind of ran out of gas.
Yeah.
In that AFC Championship game. So this is going to be significantly tougher, but at the end of the day, Browns is the Browns. I'm not too concerned.
So the concern for me would be Willie Gay's injury. I think Willie Gay was part of the reason that they were able to be a little bit better at stopping the run later in the season. You saw it in the Falcons game when Willie Gay played a ton. But just last week, Willie Gay sustained that injury, that ankle injury against the Chargers, and that's a 2 to 4 week recovery time, I believe Andy Reid said. And we're only a week removed from that, so it still remains to be seen if Willie Gay can play in this game. And even if he plays, I highly doubt he'll be at 100%. So if I'm the Chiefs, so that's where I'm a little concerned.
I think he'll be okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And is Hitchens going to be back? I have no idea.
Yes, I believe Hitchens was on the reserve COVID list, which was the reason he was nowhere to be seen, although I doubt he would have played in that last game, but he should be back, yeah.
If we have Hitchens and Damian Wilson, we should be okay. I trust those guys. I used to hate Hitchens, but I think he's stepped up these past couple of years.
Yeah.
And if we can get Willie Gay, then yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, no, definitely. Excuse me. I think the Chiefs linebackers can hold their own because I mean, really the only difference with our linebacker unit this year from last year is Willie Gay replaced Reggie Ragland, which I love Ragland, but I feel like Willie Gay is an upgrade. I don't think many people will argue me on that. So if that's the only difference, I think the linebackers will be fine. Now, it does suck that Willie Gay being out most likely means more Neiman snaps. No one wants to see that, but I would hope the coaching staff has learned their lesson by now of putting Neiman out there on important plays. Just stop doing it, please. Just don't do it anymore. But switching back over to the Chiefs offense. So Cleveland's pass defense, I think that's where the Chiefs will make their money in this game. Cleveland's pass defense is pretty bad, 25th in the league, 262 pass yards given up per game. And you're going up against the number 2 scoring offense in the league in Kansas City, who's averaging about 30 points per game. And, we all know what the Chiefs can do. You got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got Hill. And I feel like that's a cop-out answer every time the Chiefs play a poor defense on paper. But it's true. I mean, that's like the Chiefs are one of the best offenses, and if not the best offense in the league, when they flip that switch. So, I'm going to bring up another key to the game, but before that, I just want to get your take on our offense versus the Cleveland passing defense.
I've said it before, and I'll continue saying it. The only team that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs is the Kansas City Chiefs. If we flip that switch, we're every game by 50 and winning the Super Bowl. But it's just a matter of, are we going to flip that switch before we're down by 30 points? And maybe we will, maybe we won't. I should hope that we will, but if we lose this game, it's going to be because we get overconfident and just pull a bunch of stupid crap and essentially hand them the game. They're not going to beat us if we're playing at our full strength.
Yeah, so that was one of my keys to the game was start out fast. I think one of the most frustrating things about this team over the past couple of years has been the slow starts in important games, like whether they're down 10-0 or the offense doesn't score for the entire first quarter. Can't have that this game. Chiefs need to come out firing. People have talked about all season long. They look bored. They can flip a switch at any time. Let's see it. There's no Bill O'Brien on the opposite sideline this year. No more messing around with inferior opponents. No more 3-point wins against a 4-win team. No more taking your foot off the gas. The Chiefs won their last 7 games of the season by a combined 27 points. Sure, they still won, and I hear a lot of people saying that, but there's a difference between the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders, and the Cleveland Browns. I don't think the Cleveland Browns are the best team in the world, but that's sure a step up from competition compared to some of the teams they played down the stretch. I mean, they're a playoff team after all. The Chiefs should come out firing on all cylinders so they don't get caught slipping early, honestly. If I want the Chiefs to come out and take like a 14-0 lead early, that's what I want to see. I would love to see that, and they would take the Browns out of their rushing attack early and force them to throw and play catch up. And that's how the Chiefs, I think, will easily win this game. As if they just start out fast. I want to see it. I want to see one game this year where the Chiefs just dominate the game from start to finish. It's the playoffs. Everyone talked about the flip or switch flipping. Let's see it, because you can't say that all season long and say you were ready for the playoffs and then look not ready for the playoffs. So that's one of my biggest keys to the matchup this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, even if we do start off slow, we could probably come back against the Browns. Because, like I said, Browns is the Browns. Steelers almost came back, and the Steelers are a very slow, fraud offense. So, if they can almost do it, we probably can do it. And I should hope that Austin Ryder doesn't throw the opening snap over Mahomes' head. And I should hope that if that does happen, Mahomes is able to fall on the ball, unlike Big Ben. But
Speaking of which, Austin Ryder, I really hope he's not starting. I really hope they start Kilgore and switch things up there. Kilgore has been a better center this year, like in every facet. I don't understand the Ryder in the lineup. Please put Kilgore in, honestly, please.
even I'd be down to have Steven Wisniewski play at center because the only thing where Austin Ryder is better than Kilgore is there. I think Mahomes had like a botched snap or something when Kilgore was in, and that's probably why they went back to Ryder. That's the only reason I could think that Ryder would have the start over him is just
Yeah.
chemistry. But maybe like put Wiz at center and put Kilgore at right guard or something.
Right.
Because I feel like it'd probably be a similar blocking motion for Kilgore. I don't think he's ever played right guard, but I mean, I'm sure he can. And Wiz used to be a center in Philadelphia, but he got kicked out to guard because Kelsey beat him, and he's just kind of played guard since. So I think that Wiz could be a good center too. Just keep Ryder off the field. He's terrible.
Yeah, I think Ryder's been decent in pass blocking this year, but he just provides nothing in the run game. And if you guys remember, Daniel Kilgore, whenever he played against the Bills and Ryder got pulled, that was one of our best running games, like of the Andy Reid era. So, I mean, what's the worst that can happen if you at least just start Ryder or not Ryder, Kilgore, and just see what happens, you know? But here's a storyline I wanted to talk about leading up to this game. So, as everyone knows, Kareem Hunt filmed himself on Instagram Live after the victory against the Steelers in the locker room, and he said on camera, next week's personal, referencing the upcoming matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that a lot of people have kind of been freaking out over it. It depends on the way you take it or why you think he's saying it's personal. I can understand why Kareem feels that way. If he's really saying it's personal, like, he wants to have a revenge game against the Chiefs, honestly, like, I still don't blame him, like, yes, it was his own actions that caused him to be dropped from the roster. But at the same time, anytime a player faces their former team, I can understand them wanting to have a good game. And, I said this on Twitter. I understand why the Chiefs gave up on Kareem Hunt, but they still gave up on him at the end of the day. So, I mean, he has somewhat of a reason because especially when the Chiefs have multiple other players on the roster that they kept despite issues off the field. It's just kind of, and I get it. People will say, well, Kareem Hunt lied to the organization. That's why he was let go. I get that too. But, Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban once said, where do you want that kid to be? All your reporters, you're going to kill me if we keep him, but where do you want him to be in 5 years? Do you want him to be on the street, or do you want him to learn from his mistakes and become a better man? And that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, the Chiefs could have helped him through his, bad actions and given him another shot. And as soon as he screwed up again, then I would have been like, okay, you're out of here. But because I think the public perception of Kareem Hunt isn't as bad as maybe the Chiefs thought it was at first when they cut Hunt that same day that video surfaced. Like, I think it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction by them. And now they're kind of pissed off because that player can potentially come back to hurt them now. And I think that's why they were hesitant to cut Tyreek Hill when that whole thing was going down, because they didn't want another Kareem Hunt situation. But yeah, I mean, that's just all my thoughts. Connor, what do you think?
Cutting Kareem Hunt was one of the dumbest moves that this organization has ever made. Kareem Hunt is the best running back that I've ever seen play, and I will die on that hill. He has more talent than anyone I've ever seen, and it sucks that he went to Cleveland, where they already have a bell cow back, where he's relegated to a third down back where he can't start. He is legitimately amazing, and he would be a Hall of Famer on most other teams. He'd probably be leading the league in rushing yards on like 28 other teams.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off to no end that we cut the best running back in the NFL and then wasted a first-round draft pick on a mediocre running back. And Chiefs fans will continue to say that Clyde is better than Kareem Hunt, but everyone knows if you're saying that, you're a delusional sunshine pumper who's just lying to yourself. That being said, I hope Kareem doesn't get a single rushing yard against us. I cannot deal with losing to one of our former players. We lost to Justin Houston last year, and that one hurt. And I I'm not looking forward to playing Kareem. I think he's going to go off on us, but I really hope we find someone. But I honestly have no idea how you contain Kareem Hunt other than just offensive incompetence.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me upset because you spent a first round. I get it. The offensive line run blocking is bad, but when you spend a first round pick on a running back, you kind of expect that running back to be able to overcome some of your offensive line deficiencies. Um, Again, the offensive line does Clyde no favors. They do Le'Veon Bell no favors. We've seen that all year long. But I mean, look at Saquon Barkley with the Giants. Look at Todd Gurley back when he was drafted by the Rams. Like, he was a 1,000-yard rusher as a rookie. The Rams O line was absolutely horrible, and I'm still not a fan of the Clyde pick. I feel like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. No one's going to remember where he was picked 5 years from now. But it's frustrating. I really wish they didn't cut Kareem Hunt. I love Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt is better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do. I think Kareem Hunt he obviously has the size advantage, but he can run people over. He has that contact balance. Clyde's pretty good too. Like, he can absorb contact. I mean, he's got a really low center of gravity, but man, Hunt can just run people over, and he has a little bit of that home run ability in him that Clyde doesn't. So yeah, it's really frustrating to me, and it just sucks. But this matchup, I really hope they're able to contain Kareem Hunt, because I would hate to see him go off.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not concerned about Baker in the slightest, but Trump or Chump, Chubb and Hunt scare the crap out of me. So probably the best thing for us to do would be run up the score early so that Cleveland has to throw the ball. And, we're at the point of the Baker Mayfield cycle where he should start sucking. So keep the ball in Baker's hands. That's how you win the game.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. If they can keep the ball in Baker's hands and just hope he makes a few mistakes, then we should be fine. And, I've been impressed with our secondary this year. I thought they've generally done a pretty good job outside of Ward, who's had some really bad moments. Yeah. But you got Snead, you got Breland, you got Fenton, Matthew, Thornhill working his way back still. And then you got Sorensen, the Mr. Clutch. I think we'll be fine. It's just, if the Chiefs can start out fast, win the turnover battle, neutralize Myles Garrett, and just play their game and don't make any mistakes, they'll be fine. I think it's as simple as that.
Those are a lot of big ifs, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, well, and they don't have to hit necessarily all of them, but if they can hit a majority of them, then they should be fine. But here's another quick thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up today. So, Chargers once again chargered this week without even playing a game. So, Isaac Rochelle, the Chargers Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. You probably never heard of Isaac Rochelle. Me neither. But until the Walter Payton Man of the Year challenge voting started. But Travis Kelsey was leading for a good long while, and then this Isaac Rochelle dude, he tweets his name like 1,000 times a day, trying to get people to retweet and vote for him and stuff. And he had a sizable lead on Travis Kelsey at one point. I forget what it was, but it was almost like 100,000 votes or something like that. Like, this dude he had Chargers fans blowing us out. And, everyone says the Chargers have no fans, which, I still believe. I think the Chargers have no fans, but somehow Isaac Rochelle, who now has 412,000 votes. I think half those votes are from him. But he's on Twitter all day retweeting himself and all kinds of stuff. I think he tried to stop the count, and he was casting a bunch of fraudulent votes. But it didn't matter, because Chief fans came out in full force over the past week or so, and Travis Kelsey now leads by over 100,000 votes. He now has 552,000 votes for the Walter Payton Man of the Year challenge. And unless something catastrophic were to happen, it looks like Travis Kelsey is going to win Walter Payton Man of the Year.
I don't think we should charger this ourselves and let up. I know the two of us have been retweeting a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel pretty good about our chances now. And I I thought that this was for the award itself, but no, it's for the $25,000.
Hmm.
But either way, it's always nice making the six Chargers fans that there are pissed off.
Yeah, and I really do hope Kelsey wins the real thing because I want him to get the patch that he can wear on the jersey, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are all millionaires, and if they really wanted to donate 25K to their charity of choice, they could right now without winning this. But I still think
Except
it's cool.
Isaac Rochelle. I don't think he gets paid.
Yeah. And then Travis Kelsey's just the highest paid tight end in the league. So if he really wanted to, he could do it. But I think the 25K to go to a charity of choice is really cool. So I don't know. I just want to point that out. Thought it was a cool story how the Chiefs were able to mobilize on this one thing and just absolutely blow Isaac Rochelle's numbers out of the water. Sorry, Chargers fans. Travis Kelsey is going to win. I don't think it's too early to say that. Although I don't want to jinx myself because it is the Chiefs, but I think we'll be fine. But I just wanted to touch on that. I thought it was pretty cool how the Chiefs fans were able to come together and do that. Also, breaking news while I'm watching this: Doug Peterson is out as the Eagles coach. Can I get your live reaction?
Are you kidding me?
Nope. Tom Pelissero just tweeted it.
Well, I know who I want the Chiefs' new offensive coordinator to be.
That's exactly what I was going to say. With Eric Bieniemy probably on his way out, and Mike Kafka also probably getting some looks. I think he's a candidate to be elevated to OC. But if they are able to keep him and bring back good old Doug Peterson, I would absolutely love that. I love Doug Peterson.
I find that really shocking. After they won the Super Bowl, what, 3 years ago now, to fire their coach after, like, okay, yeah, I think it's probably pulling Jalen Hurts is what cost him his job because he lost the locker room.
Yeah.
But really? Like, he just won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. That'd be like us firing Andy Reid in a couple years. Which, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we suck. That it sounds like something that we'd call for. But you don't fire your coach a few years after he wins the Super Bowl.
I think it was the roster management for them that really made things go downhill, and Doug Peterson was just running a dumpster fire of a roster. Really, I mean, that
was Howie Roseman. That wasn't Doug.
Yeah, I mean, they drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. They have so many injuries over the past couple years, but yeah, I don't know. I like Doug Peterson, so that kind of sucks, but. Oh, well, one thing I actually wrote about, though, that now that we're talking about the Eagles and such, I wanted to bring up. So Jason Kelsey, the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, entering the final year of his contract, he's making about $7 million, I believe. And he spoke pretty, he had a lot of disapproval for the Eagles pulling, like, starters and stuff like that, basically trying to tank. He talked about that a lot earlier in the year, and I don't think he took too kindly to Peterson's actions. And it looks like the Eagles may be heading for a little bit of a rebuild, and Kelsey is someone that strikes me that doesn't want to hang around for that. I mean, he's a veteran; he's getting on the older side at this point. What would you think about bringing Jason Kelsey over to Kansas City this offseason?
Love it.
That's it. That's it. Nothing else to elaborate on.
I mean,
replacing Austin Ryder. All that needs to be said.
Dude, I'm happy replacing Austin Ryder with me, dude. Like, Austin Ryder is so terrible. Well, and Jason Kelsey is arguably the best center in the league, and I think it's semi-realistic if they cut him that he'd come here because, we have his brother.
Well, and look at the offensive line, too. So, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz, they're definitely cut candidates after this year. It could be the last year for both of them in Kansas City. But, also, I believe one and or both of Austin Ryder and Andrew Wiley are free agents. I think that's right. I think both of them might be free agents. I know at least one of them is. But so that gives you like 3 or 4 open spots across the offensive line. I don't think the Chiefs nor Andy Reid wants to replace basically the entire offensive line with a bunch of rookies in Niang. And Niang will essentially be a rookie this year anyways. So you're definitely going to need to sign or pick up some veterans to help fill those holes if all those guys do leave. So Jason Kelsey would be a perfect start. I don't think he has much trade value. Wouldn't take much to acquire him, or he could just be cut from the Eagles this offseason. He could be a surprise cut, and they just bring him on over for the minimum or whatever. So the Chiefs will have some decisions to make across the offensive line this season. I think Jason Kelsey would be a fantastic addition.
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know how that would happen with like how the cap is and everything, but if it can happen, it better happen.
Yeah, well, like I said, they save a lot of money from Fisher and Schwartz leaving. They save money from Okafor leaving. They save money from Sammy Watkins leaving if it happens. Like I've said before, if there's something that the Chiefs want to do, they can make it happen. Brett Veach, that's his thing, is just managing the cap and creating loopholes in order to acquire more talent all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Definitely something to watch this offseason, though. But anything else you want to touch on in this podcast?
No, I just hope Dougie comes home if
All
we
right.
lose the enemy, that is.
Yeah. By the way, if we don't lose the enemy, I mean, Jesus, dude, I that would be trouble
That
for
would
the
be
rest of the
amazing.
league. Yeah. But anyways, I think that's all we have for today. Make sure to check out www.showmefootball.com for more Chiefs and Missouri football content. That's all for today. Peace.